Exactly 1 year ago, for 1 month, I was halfway around the world, literally 180 degrees around the globe from Denver, in Dharamsala, India. This was my first trip abroad, and I had taken the leap, traveling solo to join up with a handful of other volunteers to teach conversational English to Tibetan refugees. I had dreamt of visiting Northwest India and meeting the displaced Tibetans I had read so much about for years, but it had always been far beyond my reach. Even now, it had taken tax returns, scholarships, saving pennies, and using what was left from selling my Jeep to get here. I have no regrets. My trip to India was fascinating and memorable for scores of reasons, but the most memorable moments came through meeting others. One of the auspicious meetings occurred on June 2nd, 2013. Our motley band of volunteers from all over the world, Canada, the UK, Korea, Australia, and the US, were given the opportunity to attend teachings on compassion given by the Dalai Lama at his temple in McLeod Ganj, near Dharamsala. I still have my ID card, which was required to enter the temple. As exciting as it was to be in India and to be attending the teachings, it got even better. On the morning of June 2nd, at about 9 a.m., just as the morning before, His Holiness came through the gate of his residence at the edge of the temple grounds, and he began working his way through the reverent and joyful crowd. Our little band of volunteers was situated at the foot of the stairs leading up to the main temple area. As the Dalai Lama came through the crowd, he offered blessings to people along the way, taking the kata scarves they offered, touching them to his head, and then placing the scarf lightly back around each person's neck. By the time His Holiness was nearing the steps, he was concentrating on the far side of the walkway. He was blessing several brightly clothed children who were grinning and bouncing up and down, looking for all the world like a bouquet of flowers tossing about in the wind. Suddenly, he turned, walking straight over to Jonathan, one of our volunteers from Toronto, who was sitting next to me. He took Jonathan's hand, asking him where he was from and asking if we were all together. We were, after all, wearing matching t-shirts. He blessed Jonathan's kata and placed it around his neck. Then His Holiness clasped my hand. It is difficult to explain the rush of emotions that I felt in that moment, but in those few seconds I realized that the Dalai Lama did not seem like some celebrity, but rather he seemed like the most human being I had ever met. He was so present and so welcoming and so very kind as he asked where I was from, and, while holding my hand, thanked our whole group for being there helping. In that moment, I felt like I'd been connected to the source of all my highest aspirations: compassion, service, and presence. I felt my heart opening, and I felt a most intense desire to share that feeling with everyone. It was like being given a priceless gift and being charged with the wonderful task of giving it away. It was so exquisitely joyful and heartwarming that the tears started streaming down my face, and I was grateful that I was seated next to one of the columns, because I would have fallen back most ungracefully without it. I marveled at my path in arriving there, and at being in that place at that moment. It was a gift of grace that allowed me to finally pull the pieces together to make my dream of traveling to India a reality. While there, I was graced with many gifts, many meetings, many heartfelt conversations, which I will carry in my heart forever. However, I never, in my wildest imaginings, never imagined I would have the chance to hold hands with His Holiness the Dalai Lama.